All right, today we're going to talk about how basic blocking can tell a story. But first, we're going to review some of our basic blocking terms and ideas before we get into how they work with each other to show power and relationship. So first, what we're going to talk about is upstage and downstage. Remember, upstage is towards the back of the stage, downstage is towards the front of the stage where the audience is. And this is because stages way back when were raked, meaning that the back was indeed higher than the front. Therefore, upstage is in the back and downstage is in the front. From there, we go to stage right and stage left. Remember that these are from the performer's perspective when they are standing on the stage and looking out at the audience. So it's going to be opposite to what you're seeing right now. Your right is actually stage left, and your left is actually stage right. If you ever get confused, just remember to imagine yourself standing on the stage looking at the audience and which is your right and which is your left, and that is stage right and stage left. Once we have the basic stage directions, we can divvy up the stage into the 9 stage areas. So here on the floor, we have our hashtag, which gives us our 9 stage areas. You can see 3 in the back, 3 in the middle, and 3 in the front. The one in the very center of the stage is center stage. Easy to remember. From there, we have upstage center, which is right at the center stage, but it's towards the back of the stage. And we have downstage center, which is if you were in the center of the stage and you took a couple of steps towards the audience, that is downstage center. Now remember, our stage areas do not include the apron of the stage. That's that big part of the floor that comes out towards the audience from the proscenium arch. Our stage areas don't really include that because for a long time the stage apron wasn't used in performance. We do sometimes use the stage apron now for blocking and stuff, but then that's far downstage and things like that, and we're not going to worry about that right now. From upstage center and downstage center, you also have center stage right and center stage left. Remember, these are from the perspective of the performer when they are standing on stage looking towards the audience. So if you're standing in the middle of the stage at center stage and you take a couple of steps to your right as the performer, you are now on center stage right. Sometimes we also just call this stage right. Same thing for center stage left. If you are a performer standing in the center of the stage looking out at the audience, and then you take 2 steps to your left, or however many steps, depending on how big the stage is, you get to center stage left. From here, we get our 4 corners. So if you go upstage and to the right, you are now at upstage right. If you go upstage and to the left, you're now at upstage left. If you go downstage and to the right, you are at downstage right. And if you go downstage and to the left, you are at downstage left. Nothing new so far. This is all just review, but it's good to think back over what we've already learned before we move forward. So these stage areas show us power. Where on stage the performer stands either gives the performer power or takes the performer's power. So in this instance, we have a performer at downstage center. This is the most powerful position on stage. If a performer is in this position, the audience is going to take special notice of them and whatever they're doing or saying. If you have a performer delivering a soliloquy, which is a monologue, but they are talking to the audience, you probably want them in this position. You definitely don't want anybody in this position who is not making a soliloquy. So when a soliloquy is being made. So if there's a soliloquy being given on stage, don't put anyone else in this position other than the person who is delivering said soliloquy. Here we have another position. Now this is in the 9th stage area. This is the least powerful position on stage. Whoever is up here, the audience is going to pay as little attention to them as possible, unless they are the only performer on stage, in which case they'll get the audience's full attention. Now, this is for two reasons why this is the ninth stage area and the least powerful position. First one is because it is all the way in the back. And people, as they get farther away from you, look smaller. And things that are smaller take up less of your attention than things that are bigger. So people in the back of the stage are automatically going to take less attention from the audience than the people in the front of the stage just because they're smaller. They're also behind other people. Um, Generally speaking, as humans, we like to pay attention to things that are closer to us rather than things that are far away. So the people in the back are further from us, so they're smaller. And if there's anyone else on stage who are closer to us, that's who we want to pay attention to anyways. The second reason that this stage area is the least powerful is because it is on stage left, which is our right. Now, in our society, here in the United States of America, we read from left to right. Think of it if you're reading a page in the book or a sign or really anything. You're going to start on the left-hand side, and as you read, your eyes are going to move to the right-hand side of whatever you're reading. That is the second reason that this position is the least powerful, is because it is on the audience's, so house right, stage left, and we here in the United States read from left to right. So if there was another position in the back but on upstage right, we would pay attention to them more than this poor little person who is in upstage left. Merely because that is the way our eyes are used to traveling, is from audiences left to audiences right. So again, if you're getting confused with these stage directions, just remember house right or audience right is the way that you are viewing the stage right now. It would be your right. And then stage right is actually your left or audience's left. If you have questions about this, please feel free to contact me. Now we get into specific blocking terms. So blocking is any movement and all movement that a performer does on stage, but blocking can be broken down into several sub-terms, such as a cross. Now, a cross is when you move from one part of the stage to another, such as this performer, who is moving from upstage left to downstage right. And you can see as he comes downstage, he gets a little bigger. You can also see as an audience member right now that you are going to pay more attention to the downstage right performer. That's just where your eye goes. They're bigger, they're closer to you, and they are to your left, and you're used to reading left to right. So really, this is a pretty powerful stage position. This is the most powerful stage position. The performer who's in upstage left, way back there, he's smaller, he's in the back, and he's in the least powerful stage position. He is crossing. So to cross the stage means to move from one stage position to the other. If it's from a less powerful position to a more powerful position, the audience is going to take notice of you. If it's from a more powerful position to a less powerful position, the audience is going to take less notice of you. We also have business, which is any physical movement that doesn't require the performer to move from one stage area to another. This can be fiddling with a newspaper or reading a book or bouncing your foot up and down if you're sitting on a chair. Or even just a little bit of pacing, not a lot of pacing. You don't want to move total stage areas, but if you pace a couple of feet to the right and to the left, that's basically business. It doesn't require you to move very much. Here we have some blocking that also requires some positioning of the body. When you face in, that's when you as a performer face towards the center of the stage. That is the first definition. Now, you can be at the very back of the stage, so very upstage, and facing into the center of the stage. You can be on the apron, the furthest down stage, and have your back to the audience and facing into the center of the stage. Or you can be near the wings like this performer, facing into the middle of the stage. It's just basically wherever you are on stage, facing towards the center of it. The second definition for facing in is when you have multiple performers on stage and they are facing each other. Now, this develops a relationship between those two performers. They're talking to each other, they're facing each other, they have a connection. Now, their bodies in proximity to one another is going to establish how close that connection is. These two performers are pretty close together. They have a pretty strong connection when they're facing in. However, if they were all the way across stage from each other, so if one performer was downstage right and the other performer was downstage left, and they have the entirety of the middle of the stage between them, that connection gets weaker and weaker. Here we have a performer facing out. Now, facing out is the opposite of facing in. It is any time a performer faces away from the center of the stage. So a performer can face outwards towards the audience. A performer can face outwards towards the back wall. A performer like this one can face outwards towards either the stage right or stage left wings. You can also face out if there are multiple performers on stage and they are facing away from each other. Now, this also establishes a relationship, but it is a negative relationship, right? These two either don't see each other, they don't like each other, they're fighting. And again, their bodies' proximity to one another, so how close or far away they are from each other, is going to establish the strength of that relationship. So if these two people are all the way across stage from each other, again, I'll use downstage left and downstage right with the entirety of middle stage between them, then the odds are that the audience isn't going to see a relationship between them at all because they're not close to each other and they're not facing in towards each other. So the odds are that they don't even see each other. They don't even notice each other. These two performers, though, are standing pretty close to each other and making the choice to face away. So perhaps they do have a relationship, a connection, but they're just angry, is probably what the audience would read into this dynamic. We also have upstaging. Anytime a performer stands in front of another performer or takes attention away from the performer that the audience should be focusing on, more often than not, you should not upstage, ever. You can upstage by, making too big of movements or talking too loud, or in this case, standing in front of another performer. There are times when the director will tell a performer to upstage another performer intentionally, but that should only be done if the director tells you very specifically to do so. Generally speaking, upstaging is not cool. The other performers on stage will not appreciate it. Now we get into the body positioning. So we have full front. Again, this part shouldn't be new information. I'll review. So you have full front. That is where your body is totally opened up to the audience. You are facing outward towards the audience with your shoulders parallel to the front of the stage. This is the most powerful position. No matter where you're standing on stage, this body position itself is the most powerful. We'll see how it goes hand in hand with stage positioning in a minute to see how stage positioning either takes away or adds to that power. Here we have a quarter turned left and right. Remember, if you're left, it's to the performer's left. If you're quarter turned right, it's to the performer's right. This is also a powerful stage position, and it is not the most powerful stage position, but it is the one that's used most often. It's a little more dynamic, especially if performers are talking to each other, if characters are talking to each other on stage. You don't want to go profile, right? So if two performers are talking to each other, they don't want to stand profile because that gives the audience just your side. And no audience wants to see a bunch of just sides of people. So you generally stand to a quarter left or the quarter right, whichever way is facing the other performer you're talking to, and you deliver your lines that way. It's also called cheating out. Here we have our third most powerful body position, and that is the full back. Now you might say, what about all the other ones? What about profile and three-quarter turned? Those are not as powerful, and I'll tell you why. The audience isn't used to seeing someone's full back turns towards them in a play, so that's automatically going to make them go, huh, what's up with that? And second of all, it feels defiant, right? It feels like the performer is going, ha, I don't need you, right? It feels a little antagonistic. We keep wanting to know why they're facing upstage. We want them to turn around. Um, and that's what makes this powerful. Now, it's not as powerful as full front, and it's not as powerful as 3/4 or as 1/4 turned, but it is powerful for its own reasons. Now we get into the not so powerful stage positions. They're still useful, but not powerful. So profile turned left or right. Remember, this is the performer's left and the performer's right. It's not powerful. It's usually used when exiting the stage, right? When the performers are leaving the stage to go into the wings. Um, it's also used when a performer is giving the stage to another performer, right? Telling the audience with their body language to pay attention to that other performer, giving the stage to them. Um, that's mostly when profile is used, just because the audience is really only seeing half of your body, only the side of your face, and they don't tend to like that very much or to pay much attention to people who are in profile view. And our least powerful body positions are the 3/4 turned left and right. Um, Basically, the audience isn't going to pay much attention to these performers at all. And these are useful, right? There's some times when the audience shouldn't be paying attention to performers. So putting them in these body positions is really beneficial. But you won't have anyone delivering a monologue this way. Um, you're not going to have anyone doing anything important that is turned this way. Um, it is the least powerful stage position. That doesn't mean that it is the least useful, but it is the least powerful. Now we're going to talk about how all of this, the stage directions, the stage areas, the body positions, work together to tell a story. So for example, we have this performer. This performer is standing in deep downstage, far downstage, on the apron. Uh, because this performer is close to the audience and because they are in the full front stage position, the audience is going to pay a lot of attention to this character. It helps that he's the only character on stage. Um, the audience is going to pay a lot of attention to this character. However, if we have two characters on stage at the same time and they are in the same stage area, right? These are both still in pretty deep downstage center. We are still just a little in front of that proscenium arch. Um, now he has to share the stage with this other performer. He's not the only one on stage. The audience, though, is still going to pay more attention to him than they are this dude with the guitar, because he is full front and he's facing them, and he is to the audience's left. He's more stage right than the other performer. And as we said before, the audience tends to look at the stage from left to right. So all of those things combined mean that he is still the performer that they're going to. Pardon the bell. Sorry, I'm recording this while I'm at school. The audience is still going to pay more attention to him than they are the other character, but that doesn't mean that they're not interested in the other performer, especially since he's upstage, facing upstage, right, with the full back to the audience. Why is he doing that? What's going on? Here we have that same performer still facing full front. He is in the least powerful stage position. Least powerful. The audience isn't paying much attention to him at all. Instead, they're paying attention to these two gentlemen, these two performers in the far down stage right position, right? They are down onto the apron as well. So they're much closer to the audience. They are to the left of the stage from the audience's point of view, right? House left, not stage left, but house left. There's more of them there. The audience is really going to pay attention to them. They're facing inward towards each other. Um, so that means that they have a connection. They're talking. This is where the movement and the action is happening. So the audience is going to pay much more attention to them than they are to the guy facing full front. So in this way, you can see that your body positioning really has to work with the stage positioning in order to give or take power. And here's our last one. Now, this one is really fun and interesting, and I like using it because here we have this female performer. She is downstage right, and then we have our two gentlemen who are stage left or center stage left up there. Now, she is closer to the audience. She is also um, uh, in the second most powerful position. She's not downstage center, but she is downstage right, and that is the second most powerful position because it is close to the audience and it is to the left of the stage from the audience's perspective. So she's in a position of power, but her body is between profile and 3/4 turned, right? Her face is sort of turned out looking, so that gives her a little bit more power back because we can see her face a little bit, but she's really in a weak body position. Um, so that in combination with her actual position on stage in her stage area is really interesting. The audience really wants to pay attention to her because she's close to them and to their left of the stage. But her body's telling them not to pay attention to her. What's really interesting though is we have our gentlemen, our two gentlemen performers up there in stage left, center stage left. Um, and you'll notice that even though the gentleman in the striped shirt, even though his body is facing in towards his partner up there, his face is turned out sort of towards this female performer. Now, the other male performer, he's facing in, his body's facing in, and he's actually facing that female performer. So it really seems like even though these two gentlemen are in a relationship, and I don't mean like a romantic relationship or a friendship, just in a relationship on stage, right? They're in close proximity, they're facing each other, they're obviously mid conversation. Their focus, both of their focuses, is on this single little female performer down stage right. And because their focus is on her, it gives the audience permission to focus on her, which is really fun. And it really sort of tells the story. Why are the gentlemen watching her? Did she walk on stage and they just noticed her? What's going on with that? What were they talking about before she entered stage? There's all these fun questions that the audience can ask just based on the position of the performers and where their attention is. You can also notice that she doesn't seem to notice them at all, right? Her body's facing out from the center of the stage, but also out away from them. And her face is facing out from the center of the stage and also out from them. So it's as if she's not taking any notice of these two gentlemen at all. This is a really fun sort of stage picture, and it shows what you can do when you combine your body positioning with your stage positioning, where you are on the stage. It really tells a story, especially if there's other people on stage with you. I hope this has been beneficial. If you have any questions, please let me know. You know I love hearing from you. I hope that as we continue on with the physical or body performance aspect of the class, that you can refer back to this video and really take time to think about your positioning of your body when you're planning your blocking for your scenes and monologues, and think about the position of where you are on stage as opposed to the positions of the other performers on stage, and who the audience is supposed to be focusing on at any given time. Uh, until we talk, I look forward to seeing your work, and have a great day.